call the meeting to order, please. I should like to call Mr. Bill Crisselbrink forward, please. I'm coming around. I'm coming around. I don't know if we should go into a little bit of history, how you thought I was stalking you some years back, following you and while you were driving the school bus. And I should just like to say that Mr. Crisselbrink is the very first non-elected official to have served on the Columbia Basin Trust Board. And
I have you to thank for that.
You have me to thank. And you thought that I might have been stalking you for inappropriate reasons, but that's what I think. So I want to thank you for all the years that you've served on the board. And I know that the Columbia Basin Trust Board has thank you for that, expressed their gratitude of your contributions as well as the committee that you served upon. But what I would like to say on behalf of council is that we really appreciated the fact that you were one of the first members to serve on the Community Initiatives Adjudication Committee. And we're sorry to see you go, and I don't know if we really want to accept it. However, I think we have no choice.
We have no choice in the matter.
And I hope you come back. I hope that perhaps next year you'll say, I would never have made that decision. I think I better go back.
You know, in response, I'd like to say it's been a pleasure for the most part working here for all those years. And all of the different committee members that have come and gone, everyone has come with a good attitude. Nobody here saying, oh, the money's here, let's just spend it. They all assess the things. It's been good to see what the benefits that have come from that. And it's been good to have the village's support every time we make the recommendation and support this complete. And that's been one.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate all the work that you've contributed, and especially when it took a lot of time, a great deal of time, and we want you to receive this
Thank you very much.
on our behalf.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I was telling our CAO yesterday that all the Columbia Basin Trust board members were elected officials. And Mr. Crisselbrink was the first non-elected. The chair, Josh Smank, and he was our founding chair, and trusted me to recommend someone from this area to sit on the board so that we would have two members from the region that we represent. And I also told our CAO that at your first board meeting, Mr. Crisselbrink, the chair took you for a walk. And he came back and he said to me, good job. I said, did he tell you that I was stalking him? Anyway, thank you again very much for your contribution. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so 2.1, adoption of the agenda for the July 11, 2017 regular meeting of council. Recommendation is that the agenda be adopted as amended, and that we add an additional recommendation to item 8.3 and to add Schedule A to item 9.2. Okay, Salt and Torgerson's. Any discussion or? No, all in favor? Carried. Motion please to adopt the minutes of the previous regular meeting of council of June 27. Blanchette and Torgerson. Are there any errors or omissions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. And agenda item 3.2, adoption of the minutes of the previous special meeting of council of June 29, 2017. Motion, please. Yes. Councillor Salt, you're moving, and Councillor Blanchette second. Any errors or omissions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Agenda item 4.1, we have Mr. Michael Lewis as the delegation. The floor is yours.
Dear Mayor and Council, thank you very much for having myself and Pete Pearson up here to present to you again some months later. We're here on behalf of the Valemount Craft Beer Experience presented by the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 266, the Valemount Arts and Cultural Society, Valemount Tourism, and the Chamber of Commerce. Some months ago, Pete Pearson and I stood up here asking for your consideration, and there was a little doubt in the room as to how this event would go off. Well, I'm here to tell you today it was an epic success, and to say thank you for supporting us. In December, the first meeting of the organizing committee was held in this room right here to begin planning the event. On April 1st, we launched our ticket sales, and we sold out May 22nd. 500 tickets sold to lucky event goers as far away as Vancouver. The wait list had over 100 people on it the day the event commenced. Of those 500, 415 to 430 would show up and enjoy the evening, to include the Honorable Shirley Bond and her husband and Councillor Torgerson. Thank you for your attendance. We had 13 different vendors represented and over 25 volunteers supporting our event. Everyone I have spoken to has had nothing but positive comments to say. I was in Jasper last week, and from members of a band that played to folks that came to my booth that I was attending, and to some folks who came to the booth and said, well, I didn't go, but I know so-and-so who went. They all raved about it and said how amazing it was. From the buses to the music to the everything that was served there, the whole way the event was organized and how it was organized. They're constantly making positive comments and are asking when next year's tickets are going on sale. The local RCMP, the bus drivers that supported the event, and the liquor inspector all had positive comments for the event. The bike park had over 200 visitors to it on the day of the event. And I know this presents us with a little bit of growing pain, but it's something that, you know, all of us should be proud to have as a problem and something we can adapt to, because it's a good problem to have. This is all a wonderful outcome and makes us ecstatic as organizers. Most importantly, though, the biggest number was that was most important to us was the amount of money we raised to support veterans in our community, which was $25,000. This week, last week and this week, we've presented checks for that amount to the Communities for Veterans Foundation out of Quesnel, to the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 266, and excuse me, let me break it down, $12,500 to the Communities for Veterans out of Quesnel, $6,250 to the Royal Canadian Legion, and to the Valemount Arts and Cultural Society here locally. We could not have done this alone. We couldn't have done it without all the support from our amazing sponsors. Some of them are in this room. Specifically, we have the Valemount Home Hardware, Best Western Plus Valemount, and 94.3 The Goat. And here tonight represented is Irvin's RV Park, the Valley Sentinel, and Infinity Office Supply, along with Spiral Contracting. And we want to thank every one of our sponsors, which is over 30 sponsors that we had for this event, ranging from Kamloops, Valemount, Jasper, and Prince George, that came out to support us. And we need to say thank you to the village. Most importantly, the village for allowing us to have this event held on the airport, and for the support that the village provided us with the Department of Public Works and everything it did for us. Thank you to the council for supporting and believing in the event that we could put on and what we try to bring to this community and to the charities that we serve. So we believe it's a huge boon for the village and for the area, and it will continue to grow. And we're here to say thank you for supporting veterans, community organizations in our event, and we will stand up here and see you again in the fall.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Lewis. And I'm pleased to hear that it was a very smashing success. And I'm sorry that I was away out of country at the time. Otherwise, I would have attended. And
I know you would.
Yeah, that's right.
It would have been a good time.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll take a motion, please, that the delegation be received. Reimer and Blanchette, councillors, and is there any discussion, any comments that any councillor wishes to make at this time? Councillor Salt.
I also wish to thank them for their presentation, and really pleased to hear how many funds were raised for the different organizations. So thank you, gentlemen, for a job well done.
Yes, Councillor Blanchette.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you as well. I'd really like to thank you for the money that was given to the veterans and to the other communities. And I'd like to thank you for coming up with this idea, because it is so fabulous. It dominoed into all sorts of other things, and I think it's great. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Torgerson.
Again, thank you to the organizing committee. Huge boon for the area for that weekend. Can't wait for next year.
Good. Okay. And if there is no further comment or discussion or questions, again, I want to say thank you very much for working with our staff and all the other agencies to ensure that it was a safe and successful weekend. Good. Thanks. Okay. All in favor of receipt? Carried. Agenda item 6.1. City of New Westminster request for UBCM resolution support. And the recommendation is that council supports the resolution by the City of New Westminster regarding homelessness as stated below. And what is council's wish? Councillor Torgerson?
I'll move to support, Your Worship.
Okay. Seconder, please. Councillor Salt. Any discussion? Yes, Councillor Reimer?
I was looking at this and I was thinking, unfortunately, if this goes from the City of New Westminster to UBCM, this is certainly a problem everywhere, not just in the major urban areas of our province. This is also in the rural areas a major concern. By supporting this, do we have any kind of assurance that the rural areas of British Columbia are going to be included in this effort?
Thank you. And I do read that their first whereas is the homeless population in Metro Vancouver. And that is a concern that it's going to be specifically for the larger urban centres. And that is something, though, if council wishes to support their resolution, that during the discussion, when that resolution is put on the floor at UBCM, that those who represent rural areas ask the question. Is it going to be just for urban, or does it include rural as well? Yes, Councillor Salt.
I also was wondering why we actually had to address this on our own. This is going to be brought forward in the resolutions to UBCM, and that's where we can vote on it there. I mean, if we chose to support it here as well, we can, but I just wanted to get it on the floor for discussion as well, and so I didn't know if we really had to address it here or if we could bring it up.
And we don't have to really address this here because it's not as serious here, but I did notice where they said Metro Vancouver, and it doesn't even mention in any doesn't mention anywhere about the rural areas or any other part of British Columbia, just Metro Vancouver. Yeah, so, and this is what I say, it's open for discussion and for council to consider and make a decision. Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, the alternative is that we could, if we wanted to, write back a letter of support as long as they included the rural areas in their resolution.
And at this point, you are correct. In their resolution, all they include in the whereas is Metro Vancouver. It is, do you, Mr. Administrator, do you read it any differently than we do?
Your worship, I read it the same way.
Yeah, but it's just Metro Vancouver. Yeah. Okay, is there any further discussion? Councillors? No? Okay. All in favor then? Opposed? Defeated. Okay. They also ask for council support that the City of New Westminster regarding restorative justice training as stated below. And what is council's wish here? Do you want to make a motion in order to discuss it? Yes. Okay, moved by Councillor Reimer, that council supports the resolution by the City of New Westminster regarding restorative justice training as stated below, and seconded by Councillor Torgerson. And again, this is open for discussion. Does council have any thoughts? Yes, Councillor Reimer.
Yeah, I support mediation as a form of outside of the courtroom setting, and mediation is part of the court procedure, but it's outside of the courtroom setting, and certainly having the victim and offender being able to understand each other. But I think a lot of that is going on right now, and I'm not so sure that the people that are training in law enforcement aren't receiving some of this. I'm not sure. I'm kind of surprised actually that that this is not already part of their curriculum. I would think it would be.
To the best of my knowledge, some of that does take place, and you are correct in the thought that there is restitution restitution and apology from the offender. From what I've read of accountings from the courts, that's already being done. I don't know if anybody else is aware. Does anyone else from council have a thought about this? Councillor Torgerson.
Just completely unaware of what training city police forces undertake.
Yeah, I think the RCMP have training in that. Yeah, at least Councillor Salt.
And my concern too is when they're talking about law enforcement, are they specifically speaking of police and RCMP, or are they also talking bylaw? And they're therefore, be it resolved, again, can put some constraints on the rural communities and smaller municipalities that don't have the same budgets as the big cities, where they're saying mandate that it be compulsory to take training. So again, I'm just concerned about the consideration of large, urban versus the rural communities.
And I agree that it's not up to local governments to tell senior levels of government that they mandate that restorative justice training become a compulsory component of law enforcement training. I don't think myself, I am not qualified to judge that. To say to a senior level of government, this is what you need to tell them to do. Yes.
And I'm sure when it's brought to the floor at UBCM,
Yes.
there'll be questions as well.
Yes, okay. Councillor Blanchette.
I think if this is something that is needed, then the RCMP and the police would be the ones to say we need to have this.
That's right. I agree. Okay, so I'll call for the vote if there's no further discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Defeated. And we have one more request from the City of New Westminster regarding renovictions and amendments to the Residential Tenancy Act as stated below. So I'm not going to read all of this out because I know that Council has, but I will take a motion for discussion. Councillor Blanchette and Councillor Torgerson. That Council supports the resolution by the City of New Westminster regarding renovictions and amendments to the Residential Tenancy Act as stated below. And so that's open for discussion. Does any councillor have any comment about Councillor Torgerson?
I remember this came onto the floor at UBCM last year. I believe it passed, but I'm not sure what the UBCM executive did with it. I don't know if it made it to the ears of Victoria or not.
Okay. I would hazard to say that if they are putting this resolution forward again, that nothing has been done. So, does any councillor have any further comments? Councillor Blanchette?
I do know that it is a huge problem, and anything that we can do to protect our renters is something we need to look into.
Is it a problem here in Valemount?
I don't know for sure.
Okay.
I'm not a...
Okay, and that's our concern,
Yeah.
really. Yeah. Councillor Reimer, you had something to say, yes?
Well, I understand and appreciate the magnitude of the problem in certainly in the urban areas where rents have skyrocketed, and those that aren't making a lot, that are on minimum wage, that have found accommodation that is reasonably within their budget, become victims of some of this. I think, though, that what we're seeing to be fair to the landlord population is that they can't make money in the urban areas by the time that they pay their property taxes, by the time they pay their utilities, by the time they pay for their maintenance. And it's not something that anybody is going to invest in readily. I understand that from an investment point of view. How best to protect that by mandating that? Certainly in some areas that might help, but I think that's one of the reasons why you see so many of these rental accommodations becoming derelict. They're not being maintained because the landlord isn't putting any money in there to maintain it. There is no more money. It's all going out. And it doesn't become beneficial to the tenant, and it becomes a problem for the municipality. If there was a fair return to the landlord, there would be investment in there. And I'm not sure that something like that can be legislated.
Okay, Councillor Torgerson?
I appreciate Councillor Reimer's view on this. However, this particular resolution is looking at just a broad review of the Residential Tenancy Act, just to take a review of it. And I'm in support of that. Maybe there's something that under this review they will see a fine line between what is good for the landlord and what is good for the renter.
Okay. Yes, Councillor Sawton?
I agree with Councillor Torgerson as well. I also believe that even if we don't fully know if there's an issue here in Valemount, I do know that there are issues with the Residential Tenancy Act and that should be reviewed. So I agree that just an overall broad review of it is a good idea, and I do support that.
Okay. I agree with, therefore, be it resolved that the Union of BC Municipalities urge the provincial government to undertake a broad review of the Residential Tenancy Act, including, but not limited to, amending the Residential Act. And then the three specifics, I don't know if I agree with those. I don't think that it should be in a Residential Tenancy Act that it be mandated to permit one tenant or applicant to represent and take collective action on behalf of all tenants in a building. To me, that should not be mandated. It takes away, to me, it just takes away fairness. Yes, Councillor.
So again, I agree, like,
Yeah.
I think this is something that should go to the floor at UBCM, and that's
Yes.
where certain points can be raised and brought up, and potential amendments be brought to the floor as well.
Yes. Well, when I'm there, that's, and present for that resolution discussion, I would just say that I agree with the fact that the provincial government undertakes a broad review of the Residential Tenancy Act and leave it up to them and have a period after that instead of saying those 3 specifics. I don't know how councillors feel about that. And we can speak to it when we're there. Okay, okay. So is there any further comment or discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Opposed? Defeated. Okay. And here's a good one. 6.2. The Regional District of Fraser Fort George request for support for grant applications. Recommendation is that Council supports the Regional District's application to the Northern Development Initiative Trust's capital investment analysis for a grant of up to $10,000 from the Prince George Region Development Account for engineering services for a geothermal cooling system for the Robson Valley Recreation Centre and the Canoe Valley Recreation Centre. What is Council's wish? Councillor Blanchette and Councillor Torgerson, and it's open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. And the next recommendation is that Council supports the Regional District's application to the Ministry of Community, Sport and Cultural Development Infrastructure Planning Grant Program for a grant of up to $10,000 for engineering services for a geothermal cooling system for the Robson Valley Recreation Centre and Canoe Valley Recreation Centre. Council's wish. Kate Torgerson and Salt. And is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. 6.3, United Way Northern BC request. Recommendation that the information from the United Way Northern BC and Village of Valemount Procedure number 1 attached be received. And I'll take that motion, please. Okay, Blanchette and Torgerson. And is there any discussion of that one? All in favor? Carried. And the next recommendation is that a letter of support be provided to the United Way as the Village of Valemount does not declare proclamations. Blanchette and Salt. Is there any discussion? Yes.
One question, I know they, certainly in all the literature they attached, they talked about an employee plan. And I don't know if our employees are considering anything, but I also think in a small community like ours, it's quite difficult to do that. But
I agree. And I believe that would not be Mayor and Council's decision to make. That's up to the employees.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. All in favor? Carried. Reading file. Is there any item that Council wishes to bring forward? Yes, Councillor Torgerson.
To bring forward the Columbia Basin Symposium to be in October.
Yes.
I'm registered and I'm hoping for council support in sponsorship for travel.
Okay. So do you want to make that motion? Okay.
To sponsor travel expenses to and from Kimberley in October.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Torgerson that travel expenses to and from Kimberley be paid to him to attend the symposium. Okay, is there a seconder? Councillor Blanchette? Okay, is there any discussion? Councillor Salt?
do we know what our budget is going to be looking like for travel? Because we will have just come back from UBCM as well.
Yeah.
I
Yes,
like the
Councillor
idea.
Torgerson.
I'm not attending UBCM this year in lieu of this.
Oh.
Okay. For Council's information, I'll be attending, but as a board member of the Columbia Basin Trust, and Columbia Basin Trust is picking up my expense. Yeah. Okay. Yes, Councillor Salt?
No, I'd love to go and I
Yeah.
absolutely can see Councillor Torgerson going. So,
Okay.
I mean, if there's that way that we can have you go, absolutely, then I support that.
Okay. Yeah. It's going to be, symposia are held every second year. Okay. So if there's no further discussion, all in favor? Carried. Is there anything else? Yes.
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 I wanted to bring up the, where am I here? The UBCM, the resource breakfast.
Yes.
Are we going to send a delegate or two to this, like we sent Councillor Reimer to the forum in early February?
No, this is just the breakfast.
This is just the
at
breakfast series
UBCM.
at UBCM.
Yes, and I have always attended the energy and forestry. So, but they say it's open for 2.
Yeah, so that's why I just was wondering.
Yes.
I know you usually go, so I didn't
Yes.
know if any councillors were going to go as
Yeah,
well.
and it's up to council if anybody wants to attend as well. To me, the most important one was the energy. And that was former Minister Bill Bennett. And he gave us a lot of good facts and information. Okay? So, council, if you decide within the next short while that you want to attend one of those breakfasts, please advise the staff. Okay? Now, is there anything further? Nothing further? All right. Administrative reports, 8.1, emergency management update. And the recommendation is that the emergency management update report by Chief Administrative Officer Adam Davey be received. Reimer and Blanchette. And it's open for discussion. And any questions that you might have of Mr. Davey.
Thank you for this update. Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing things move on.
Okay. Councillor Blanchette?
Congratulations to Suzanne. Sorry.
Okay. Anything further? I should just like to comment a little with respect to my very early email to everybody of this morning to commend Mr. Davey for his professional and competent leadership in preparing an emergency plan for the village of Valemount. And I certainly hope that we don't have to implement anything or do anything, but preparedness is always a key. So thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay. And if there's no discussion, all in favor of receipt? Carried. Accounts payable report, 8.2, that the June 2017 accounts payable be received. Reimer and Blanchette, is there any discussion? No discussion? Okay, all in favor of receipt? Carried. 8.3, Mountain Bike Park, proposed pickup sites. That the recommendation is that the report regarding pickup sites for the mountain bike park be received, and I think I have an amendment here. Well, first of all, receipt. Okay. Torgerson and Salt. Any discussion under receipt? Okay, hearing, yes, Councillor
I want to
Torgerson.
say that it's good that this resource is being, if not overutilized, extremely well utilized, and looking forward to seeing some improvements. But again, it comes with a quick and swift and yet thoughtful discussion between all agencies.
Any further comment? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. And we have another recommendation that the Community Hall, 101 Gord Street, be approved as a pickup site for peak shuttles. Blanchette and Reimer. And is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Bylaws and policies, 9.1. The recommendation is that the official community plan amendment, bylaw number 765-2017, be adopted. Torgerson and Reimer. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Agenda item 9.2, Village of Valemount Sanitary Sewer Local Area Service Establishment Bylaw, numbers 762-2017, Cranberry Lake Road and Highway 5 West, And the recommendation is that the Village of Valemount Local Area Service Establishment Bylaw number 762, 2017 be adopted. Motion please, Salt and Torgerson. And is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Council reports, and we'll start with Councillor Blanchette.
On Thursday the 9th, I had a special council meeting. We had Canada Day celebrations, which are really well received. Congratulations to all the organizers. It was a really, really great weekend. And I must say that the library float came in first.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, isn't that wonderful?
It was a really good day. And then Monday I had child, youth, and mental health. And we're trying to come up with some summer programming to highlight mental health. So if anybody has any good ideas, let me know. And then I had a meeting today.
Thank you very much, Councillor Blanchette. You have laryngitis?
No. The smoke bothers my asthma.
Okay. I thought perhaps it was laryngitis. Okay. Talking too much, I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Blanchette. Councillor Reimer.
June 29th, we had that special council meeting to do some unfinished business that we hadn't finished on the previous council meeting. July 1st, Canada Day. It was both official duty and it was a total pleasure to be part of the parade and the float, along with Councillor Torgerson and Councillor Salt, and I know Councillor Blanchette was on the, I didn't know it was a winning float, but well-read float.
Well read.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And yeah, what a tremendous parade. Organizers did a terrific job, and everybody certainly deserves a big thank you for organizing all that, and our staff for putting in a good float for the village. That was excellent. Yeah, kind of fun throwing out stuff. And then it was, again, pleasure. It was also a privilege to address the people that were still there at 1 o'clock, together with the Honourable Shirley Bond. And then she and I had the pleasure of cutting the cake together and serving it along with two distinguished members of the RCMP. And certainly the members of our Museum Society deserve a lot of thank you for putting in a big effort. And I think every year the parade should end there and go immediately. Mm-hmm. There should be the parade every day, every year on Canada Day. That way a lot of people stay there for the museum and for all of that. It works terrifically. I highly recommend it. And so that was something that I think could be repeated. Yesterday, Valemount Community Forest meeting, and this afternoon was also a special council meeting. So,
thank you, Councillor Reimer. Councillor Salt?
As well, on the 29th, we had a special council meeting to finalize the village's annual report. And Canada Day was a fabulous fun day. I attended all activities all day long. I was at the museum pretty much close to the end. I think our museum staff did a fabulous job, and we're probably happy because I was actually even trying to help clean up things for them. So but it was wonderful, and everyone there seemed to have a good time. And then joined Councillor Torgerson doing his official duty in the evening. Councillor Blanchette and I were there on either side of him, helping him with the cake. And we had two large cakes, and both disappeared. So it was good, and the fireworks were absolutely fabulous. People were thrilled with the day, a lot of accolades, and I think it was one of the best Canada Days we've had in probably quite some time. So that was Canada Day, and I also agree with Councillor Reimer. I thought it was great ending up at the museum. It was a really good route, I thought. And then today I had another special committee of the whole meeting. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Torgerson?
The first was just a blast, the whole day. I'd like to thank Councillor Salt, my running mate along the float. We didn't have the comfort of being on the float. We were
Running.
mules, taking orders from Adam, or sorry, Mr. Administrator. Take this shirt over there, take this shirt over there. What really surprised me, and I shouldn't be surprised, but was the amount of people I didn't know along that were spectating. I've been here for a long time, and if I were to put a number on it, I maybe knew a quarter of the people. Those who I talked to hand out pins, t-shirts. Most came back with, welcome to Canada, thank you. A lot of overseas travelers. Just an amazing parade and spectacle. Then the anthem and the cake were moving. Again, a lot of people I didn't know. A lot of visitors to our community taking in the festivities. Those who are visiting was just amazing. And hats off to Councillors Blanchette and Salt for slinging cake with me. That was a lot of fun. And then our fire department and our volunteers at that service just gave us an amazing show. Just great. And I'd like to thank organizers and village staff for just making that day just outstanding. On the 5th, I had a direct heat use committee meeting. On the 10th, a Valemount Community Forest Board meeting. And a council meeting tonight.
Thank you very much. And I should like to thank Councillor Salt for chairing the council meetings in during the month of June. The Maple Leaf Centre, which is funded by Canadians, and this is a safe house to little girls in Western Ukraine. And they have a biannual trip, and I missed the one 2 years ago, so this year I went. And I can, once we're off the official camera and the media, I will relay a few little incidents to you. But I want to thank you again, Councillor Salt, for chairing the meetings, and Councillor Reimer for attending the Regional District of Fraser Fort George Board meeting. I want to thank you for that. And there's always a little story that I like to tell on Canada Day, and that was, it was early in 2015, so it was just a little over 2 years ago that I was at an official dinner in Prince George, and there was federal cabinet ministers there, etc. And there were two gentlemen there. They were engineers, and they're from Turkey, and they established a business in Surrey, British Columbia, as well as in Prince George. And so they had both just received their Canadian citizenship. They were congratulated and said, "Congratulations on becoming a citizen of Canada and welcome to Canada." And the one engineer said, "I am not just a citizen of Canada, I'm a citizen now of paradise." He said, "That's what we think of your nation." And we were leaving Budapest Hotel for the airport, and it was 9:30 a.m. there and just 12:30 a.m. here. And the leader of our tour had us, there were 19 Canadians, and she led us in our national anthem, and I said to her afterwards, "I think we're probably the first ones to sing O Canada." Because it was only 12:30 a.m. here, unless there were people sitting around partying and waiting for just after midnight to sing it, I don't know. But anyway, I want to thank Council, again, Councillor Salt, Councillor Reimer, and Councillors Blanchette and Torgerson for doing all of the cake cutting chatting, and it's quite busy, isn't it? And the fact that the RCMP help, and it makes it a very special occasion for celebrating the pride of our best country in the world in which to live. So thank you again. And I think I'll take a motion now that the verbal reports be received. Blanchette and Salt. All in favor? Carried. Agenda item 12.1. Outstanding council resolutions. Recommendation that the list of outstanding previous council resolutions be received. Reimer and Torgerson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Agenda item 14.1. Public comments. Is there any item that the public wishes to comment on with respect to what council considered as part of the approved agenda this evening? Okay. Yes, oh, okay. Yes.
CAO Davey brought the preparedness, emergency preparedness to council tonight. My concern would be, is there, I know I'm not supposed to ask a question, I just want to ask it though. Is there anything in there for outside the community? What I'm referring to are the fires and people going through, and they have to go all the way to Prince George from around the Caribou. At this point, is there anything that we as the village could do to, in that preparedness program, to aid them on their journey?
That's the regional district of Fraser Fort George. And the city of Prince, I shouldn't be answering this, but the city of Prince George has over 8,000 spaces. That, and they are not traveling up this way. They're traveling up 97. Yes, Mr. Davey.
Your Worship, if I can just add to that too. So if you consider the province as one large common operating picture, although it's commending that local folks want to help out, it's important to keep ensuring that evacuees move to Prince George so they can be properly accounted for. So if a follow-on fire strikes somewhere else, they can allocate resources to that area as well. So the messaging the village is giving out is in line with the regional district, and that is we're just encouraging folks to call the Red Cross and register via Prince George. They have the resources set in place there already. So it's vital when considering the province's complete operating picture to keep pushing them forward.
Yes, and I think those who go to Prince George have to register at the College of New Caledonia.
That's one of the spots, Your Worship.
That's right. And so the village of Valemount itself is not, we would be interfering with the provincial plans. Okay. Did you have a comment to make, Councillor Blanchette? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Is there anything further that public wishes to comment on? Hearing none, motion please to receive. Okay, Blanchette and Salt, all in favor? Carried. 15.1. Notice to proceed to an in-camera meeting, that council proceed to an in-camera council meeting for consideration of 4 items for section 91E and K of the community charter to discuss matters related to the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality, and K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at their preliminary stages and that, in the view of the council, could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held in public. Motion, please. Salt and Torgerson. And is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried.